Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 619, 619, November the 27th, 2018, Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is going to be one of those TowerGate videos for the archives because today we're going to take that deep dive into Matthew Whitaker and basically to tell you what's been going on for about the past 2 weeks. I've been digging into Whitaker, taking notes, and I've finally put it all together, and I think that I have an idea, because we talk all the time, does Trump have a plan? We all think he's got a plan. What do you think his plan is? We all see the Whitaker appointment. We wonder how that all worked out. Where is that coming from? What does that mean? And so I've been doing a lot of work in the last week and a half on research, and so tonight I'm going to reveal what I've learned from my research, and we're going to know a lot more at the end of this video about Trump's plan and how Whitaker fits into it. Before we do that, let's get to the headline news very briefly, and we'll get right into Matthew Whitaker. Of course, as you know, yesterday I had a mini meltdown. What happened? Well, as you know, I do these TowerGate videos every day, and day after day after day after day. Like many of you, I have to report on this stuff or talk about this stuff or comment on this stuff, and it just at some point you hit a breaking point. And this story yesterday about Mike Lee wanting to investigate Trump, or being happy that the Democrats are going to investigate Trump's finances in Saudi Arabia, it just, it was more than I could handle. That was it. That was my limit. I blew up. Felt good. Got that out of my system, and hopefully today I can maintain my composure and not blow a fuse. Got that off my chest, and it felt damn good. So let's try to go through the news here of the day, and then I'm going to move right into this dive into Matthew Whitaker. I think you're going to enjoy today's video. Okay, well, there's a runoff in the state of Mississippi right now, a runoff election, and the Republican there, Cindy Hyde-Smith, appears to be ahead. Looks like she may hold that seat, and she should. So what this means is that if she wins that seat, she is likely going to be on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And what does that mean? Well, it means that Kamala Harris, who will be the junior member on that committee, will likely get bumped. Kamala Harris could very likely be getting bumped. Now, a lot of Democrats are complaining about that, wanting McConnell to expand the Judiciary Committee to accommodate Kamala Harris. He's not going to do it. He might laugh at them, but he's not going to do it. So it'll be interesting to see if Blumenthal or any of those other old white guy Democrats will give up their seat to accommodate Kamala Harris. That should be fairly entertaining watching that play itself out, don't you think? Well, we have Ocasio, Marty Feldman Eyes, Cortez now comparing the migrant caravan to the Holocaust. Comparing the migrant caravan to the Holocaust. Every time that I think, that Ocasio-Cortez, I think that I've seen the bottom, of her stupidity and how ignorant and naive this person is. She says something else that completely blows my mind and proves to me that no, she can actually get even dumber than what she's demonstrated at this point. And believe me, there's many more jewels to come from this person. She is literally got to be the dumbest person. She's dumber than Maxine Waters. I'm sure of it. Dumber than Mad Max. Whew, boy. Trump is now floating the idea to the media. I don't know if he's just, teasing them or if he's actually serious, but he's now floating the idea of a worldwide network to combat CNN International. Wouldn't that be great if the Trump Foundation launches an international media network to compete with CNN? That would be great, and it would probably be a damn good news organization. By the way, it'd probably be done very, very well. Now we have Bernie, Commie Bernie, saying that he is going to run in 2020. And he says that's because he is the best candidate to beat Trump. Now, this sets up an interesting scenario because, as you know, Bernie, back in 2016, he's an independent from Vermont. He switched his party affiliation to Democrat so that he could run in the Democratic primary. And then after the Democratic primary, after Hillary cheated him, and Bernie apparently didn't mind because he obviously got paid off, Bernie switched back to being an independent, and he's currently an independent. Now, since then, the Democratic Party got together and created some new rules. They should have called it the Bernie rule. It's a rule that changes the procedure for how you can run in the Democratic primary as a Democrat. And there's a time limit for when you have to change your party affiliation. And it was done in such a way, really it was done to make sure that Bernie couldn't do in 2020 what he did to them in 2016, because they obviously believe that he will do it, because he makes a lot of money running for president. He'll make a fortune this time running for president in 2020. But this sets up a very interesting situation, because likely because of the new rules that the Democrats have put in place, Bernie will not be able to run as a Democrat. He will have to run as an independent. Well, if Bernie runs as an independent, he'll siphon off a lot of the most, if not all, of the far left Democratic vote, which will split the Democratic vote. Bernie will probably take 30, 35, maybe 40% of the Democrat vote and split it. And Trump will win he'll win 50 states. I mean, that will be difficult. Kasich will probably run as an independent. Maybe some other people will run as an independent, but Trump's so popular with his base that there's just not much there. Maybe 5 or 10%. Not enough to even matter. But Bernie, running as an independent on the left, could pull 30, 40% of those Democrats away from the Democratic Party, and that would surely cause a split in the Democratic Party. Now Bernie knows this. I mean, he's quite aware of this fact. So this might be just a ploy by Bernie to threaten the Democrat Party that he's going to run, just so they'll find out what his asking price is to bail out. In other words, he'll say, well, they'll say, how much is it going to cost, Bernie, to get you not to run? Maybe he's just expecting a big fat payday. He can just bribe them and say, okay, I'm going to run I'm going to run as an independent, knowing good and well he'll split the vote, knowing good and well Democrat leadership will come to him and beg him not to do it. And of course he'll be saying, show me the money. How much money you got? Maybe I won't run. It's going to cost you. It's all about the money for Bernie, commie Bernie. Trust me. This should be fun. I'm telling you, 2016 Democrat primary is going to be a blast. Well, it appears that the Secret Service has finally gotten around to interviewing Tom Arnold about his threats to kill Trump. They apparently came to his house and spent about an hour with him. And so I guess he's got the message. Not a good idea to threaten the president. The Secret Service takes it seriously. We have Jerome Corsi now saying that the plea deal being offered to him is not good. He doesn't like it, and that he's probably not going to take the plea deal. Instead, he says that he is going to fight this, and that he is going to file a suit against Mueller and his witch hunt. Pretty much probably on the same grounds that the other cases that has been filed in federal court, or maybe he's going to go the route of Carter Page. He's got options. Let's see what Jerry Corsi does. But that's probably a good move. I don't know exactly what kind of a deal he turned down or is prepared to turn down, but he's saying he's going to walk away from the deal and he's just going to file suit against Mueller and fight it. Maybe he thinks he can raise enough money on a GoFundMe page to pay his legal bills, because it'll cost him a big fat fortune, probably multi-millions of dollars, to fight Mueller. But, he's like a 70-year-old guy. Maybe he's looking at it like, hey, I'll spend the last 10 years of my life fighting Uncle Bob, because maybe he's betting on this whole thing will be exposed before his case can even reach resolution. Probably not a bad strategy on behalf of Jerry Corsi. So you're wondering why all those people are rioting in France. Wondering why they're all rioting in France. Well, my friends, do you know what they're paying for a gallon of gas in France now that this new tax has gone into effect? Over $7 a gallon. $7 a gallon. Can you imagine paying $7 a gallon? Now, where I live here in Ohio, I got gas today after I got off work, and it was $2.29. I paid $2.29. I filled up. $2.29 is what I paid. And And when it gets around 3, I get a little bit like, 3. These people are paying over $7 a gallon. No wonder they're rioting. I'd riot too if I were paying over $7 a gallon for gas. That's insanity. That's insanity. Okay. Before I get into this, before I get into the feature of today's video, where we're going to do the deep dive into Whitaker and Trump and how this all may have come together, I just want to mention briefly another person who some of you may follow or watch. His name is Dr. Dave Janda. Janda, of course, he's a retired doctor. I forget what kind of doctor, but he was a retired doctor. Back in the 80s, he was in the Reagan administration. He was part of a Health and Human Services Agency task force that was looking into healthcare reform and stuff like that. So he was involved in the Reagan administration. He's got a lot of friends in D.C. I regard him as being honest and straightforward, like most YouTubers, a lot of YouTubers who are looking to profit from their YouTube situation. He can sometimes embellish things a bit, but I think he's a straight shooter. I think his opinion is certainly worth hearing. I don't know if I would go to the bank with everything he says, but he certainly offers up some enlightening points of view, and he does have some contacts inside. And so I thought today I would share with you a few things that he has said, which I kind of agree with some of what he says. It kind of reflects a lot of what Devin Nunes has been saying. So I just want to go through just a couple points made by Janda in a recent video. He's talking about the fact that he's talking about, I think he was kind of referring to Devin Nunes, when Devin Nunes said, hey, look, told Sean Hannity in an interview about a week ago, he said, look, this entire Spygate thing and the entire Mueller witch hunt could be completely blown up if Trump would just declassify and make public, you know, the FISA 20 pages of the FISA warrant on Carter Page, the emails between the Gang of Eight, which is specifically emails between Comey and McCabe, which, of course, included the other 6 members of the total Gang of Eight. They're all copied on the emails, but they're primarily back and forth between Comey and McCabe, with the other 6 of the Gang of Eight folks copied in on these emails, and also these Bruce Orr 302s. So we don't really know at this point what Nunes specifically means. We know what he's saying. Hey, if the world can see this, that's the end of the Mueller probe and the end of the whole witch hunt. The Russiagate theory is blown out the window, and this will completely unravel the Spygate. It's all there. This is what Nunes has been saying, and why he wants so badly this to be declassified. So what's Nunes talking about? Well, according to Dave Janda, Nunes is talking about the following things that will be revealed if, in fact, the FISA warrant, the 20 pages on Carter Page, the emails between the Gang of Eight and the 302s are declassified and made public. First, Janda says that on the FISA warrants regarding Carter Page, he says, and this is pretty much what we've heard Nunes refer to, Janda is saying that his sources tell him that the very first FISA warrant that was taken out on Carter Page was based solely on the dossier, and that Nunes is saying that there are emails between the Gang of Eight that prove and show that they absolutely knew when they went and got that first FISA warrant that it was all based on the dossier, which they knew was opposition research paid for by Hillary Clinton, and knew it was all garbage. But they went and used it in the FISA court anyway. And that's kind of what we've been told. But Janda is saying that not only does the first FISA warrant show that it was all based on the dossier, but he says it's also going to show, and this is something that we talked about here about 2 months ago, it's also going to show, and I think it was Jeff Carlson that wrote this article suggesting this may have happened, that it appears, according to Janda, that first FISA warrant was actually never even went to the FISA court for the FISA court judges to present it to the FISA court judges. That in fact, the very first FISA warrant on Carter Page was basically a special emergency warrant signed off on by Loretta Lynch. that they bypassed the FISA court. That what they did is that she signed this special emergency warrant to spy on Carter Page. Then about a week or two later, there's a court hearing where instead of providing the evidence of having gone to the FISA court or whatever, she provides this, apparently this document which an attorney general can do, which is a special emergency warrant, and she has to go in and provide some evidence of how she was able to, of what evidence she had to use the special emergency warrant. And apparently it was all the dossier information that was used to get this special emergency warrant, which was the first FISA warrant, which never actually went through the Woods procedure or the FISA court, officially through the FISA court itself. That this was all done through the back door by Loretta Lynch using the special emergency warrant. That would have been the very first warrant that they used. This is what Janda is saying will be detailed in the 20 pages of the Carter Page FISA warrant that Nunes wants declassified. He's also saying that what Nunes is somewhat referring to, Janda is saying his sources tell him that the Gang of Eight communications emails and texts, I understand, clearly show conversations between McCabe and Comey that clearly show sedition and treason. Then he says that the 302s that Nunes wants so badly to be declassified will show that there was collusion within the White House, that the majority of the dossier was actually written by Bruce Orr. And the information Orr used to write the dossier, the information that he used was gained from Christopher Steele. And the information Steele gave him was sprinkled into the dossier, but that Bruce Orr, was actually the author of the dossier. This is what Dave Janda is saying. His sources are telling him that we will learn when these things are declassified, and they've been turned over to Inspector General Huckleberry Horowitz. They will likely be part of his report, and a lot of people, including myself, believe that maybe that's what they're waiting on, is the IG report. I think it's probably two things: the Mueller investigation to end and the IG report. But I kind of think that that's the way that Trump would like things to go, the way that it's probably best to go. But I am of an opinion now that we just don't have time, that whatever is going to happen, something big, some big move needs to be made prior to the Democrats taking over on January 3rd. I think something big, maybe not the Spygate, maybe you allow Mueller to end his investigation, you get the IG report, then you launch Spygate investigation, and all this stuff comes out, right? But I think between now and then, in the next 30 days, before the Democrats take over, I think that Whitaker needs to indict Hillary Clinton. He needs to indict Hillary Clinton for several reasons. Number one, it will show the deep state that he's not afraid of them, and he will go after one of the top of their gang. It will make a lot of people in Washington nervous as hell, because they all know that Hillary Clinton, basically, her strategy for staying out of prison has always been that if I go down, I'm taking everybody with me. And so it'll put fear, strike fear in a lot of people's hearts if, in fact, he makes a move like that. We know that there's tons and tons of evidence, plenty of evidence. All he has to do is charge the rotten Reverend Clinton, and he can take his pick. It could be the emails, it could be mishandling classified information, violations of the Espionage Act, it could be Uranium One, it could be pay for play, it could be Clinton Foundation, it could be any of those. Take your pick. Pick a crime, any crime. Okay, let's dive into Matthew Whitaker. First, I just want to go through a series of comments made by Whitaker, both in articles he's written, television and radio interviews he's done. I will give you the dates to go along with the comments he has made. And I want you to be focused on when was Whitaker hired, Who hired him to be the chief of staff to Jeff Sessions, and how did that all come about? But before I get into that, I just want to make note of one thing. What have we learned already about Whitaker? Well, we've learned that they hate him. They're terrified of him because they're attacking him. They're trying to get him. There's already 2 lawsuits that have been filed with the federal court to force, for a judge to force him out as the assistant AG to make Rodenstein the attorney general and to force Whitaker out. So clearly he is a straight shooter because the deep state doesn't like him. They're going after him. They're attacking him. So we can feel pretty good about the fact that Matthew Whitaker is the real deal. He is an enemy of the deep state, which means he's on our team. Keep this in mind. So let's keep some facts in mind as I go through here. I'm going to just blow through some facts for you. I'm going to go pretty quickly because of time. So Matthew Whitaker was the campaign chair for Sam Clovis in 2014 when Sam Clovis ran for office in, I believe, Iowa. So Whitaker knows Clovis very well. They actually competed against one another when they were running for some other political position. Then Whitaker becomes Sam Clovis's campaign manager in his 2014 campaign. Now, on July the 5th of 2016, Whitaker suggested that the Rotten Reverend Clinton should be prosecuted, and he criticized Comey for letting her off the hook. That was July the 5th of 2016. Then September 30th, 2017, Whitaker says that if Trump wins, he should investigate the Rotten Reverend Clinton. Then on May 19th of 2017, Whitaker says that Trump did not obstruct justice when he fired Comey. July 13th, 2017, Whitaker defends Trump Jr. Regarding the Trump Tower meeting, which occurred on June the 9th of 2016. Then, on July the 26th, 2017, Whitaker tells CNN that the special counsel could be ended by defunding it. August the 4th of 2017, Whitaker describes in an article that with a little planning, he could install a true believer to a political position at the DOJ as a sleeper agent, and then after Sessions is eased out, elevate that person to Attorney General. I want to say this one more time. It's very, very important. On August 4th of 2017, Whitaker described in an article, an op-ed that he wrote, that with a little planning, he could install a true believer to a political position at the Department of Justice as a sleeper agent, and then after Sessions is eased out, elevate him to Attorney General. It's pretty much what happened, is it not? So August the 6th, 2017, Whitaker says on a radio interview that Mueller pursuing Trump's finances would be improper. August the 11th, 2017, Whitaker says Mueller engaged in prosecutorial misconduct for investigations into Manafort's past business deals and taxes. Then August 15th of 2017, Whitaker says that Mueller's investigation is a little fishy. August 25th, 2017, Whitaker says Mueller's Gestapo tactics against Manafort were designed to intimidate him. August 30th, 2017, Whitaker says Mueller's investigation is politically motivated. Whitaker was appointed as Sessions Chief of Staff on September 22nd, 2017. Trump saw Whitaker on CNN when he was a commentator for about 4 months in the summer of 2017 when he was making all these comments. Trump told his White House lawyer, Don McGahn, to interview Whitaker for a position in the White House. Whitaker provided advice to Trump on how to pressure the Department of Justice to investigate the corrupt FBI and DOJ officials that were part of the coup. Whitaker suggested a special counsel to look at the FBI and the rotten Reverend Clinton. Leonardo Leo of the Federalist recommended Whitaker to McGahn to be the chief of staff for Sessions. Whitaker was installed as the chief of staff for Sessions at the direction of the White House. John Kelly, the chief of staff for Trump, said that Whitaker is the White House eyes and ears inside the DOJ. Trump spoke with Whitaker in September of 2018 about assuming Sessions' role as the Attorney General. The New York Times story described Whitaker as a Trump loyalist who had visited the White House many times, had good chemistry with Trump, and that they often spoke by phone. Well. So there we have it. There we have it. Now I see it. Many of you probably do too. What happened? Well, obviously, in the summer of 2017, as Whitaker is writing articles, working for this private group, which was really going after the rotten Reverend Clinton, doing investigations through a private group. He's appearing as a commentator on CNN for a 4-month period of time during the summer of 2017, which is at the same time Papadopoulos, Flynn, Manafort, Gates, all these people are being taken down. Lots and lots of flurry of activity around the Mueller investigation in the summer of 2017. So Trump's sitting back in the White House. He's watching CNN, probably to see what nasty things they're saying about him. And he sees Whitaker, who continues to come on CNN and combat CNN, sticking up for Trump and talking about Mueller being a witch hunt and all this sort of stuff. Talking about the fact that the rotten Reverend Clinton should be indicted and all these sorts of things. And Trump says, man, I like this guy. And Trump is, of course, realizing at this point that he needs to have a plan, because he realizes in the summer of 2017, he's now learned a lot about the Spygate thing. He knows that there was a attempt to destroy him as a candidate, and that once that failed and he became president, he knew that there was a coup attempt that was happening the day before. It was happening that day, and it was going to be happening tomorrow, and was going to continue until they finally take him down. He understood this very clearly. So I believe it was in about this time, at the end of the summer of 2017, when Trump decided, man, I better get a plan, because these people aren't going to quit. I got to figure this out. I can't fire Sessions because I have nobody. Even my Republicans in the Senate are telling me, you fire Sessions, you got big trouble. So he's trying to think, how do I get around this? Sessions won't do anything. He's just letting me get fried. What the hell can I do? It appears at this time that because September 22nd, 2017 is when Trump had his lawyer, McGahn, who was referred by the publisher of the Federalist. It was a very pro-Trump website. Lots of good people write stories on the Federalist. I look at the Federalist a couple times a week. So Trump obviously sees Whitaker. He's asking about Whitaker. He likes what he sees. He likes what he hears. He's probably talking to people. And at some point he says, I want that guy in the White House. So he tells his lawyer, McGahn, to interview him. They bring him in. And then at some point they decide, well, we really need him is in the Department of Justice. And what really position will we put him in would be, let's put him in as Sessions' chief of staff. Now, I always thought that Sessions was the guy who brought him in, but it turns out he wasn't. He was inserted in to the DOJ as Sessions' chief of staff by the White House. So obviously in September of 2017, Trump decided, this is my guy. So now he's starting to have conversations with Whitaker. Phone conversations, in-house conversations in the White House, because now he's been brought in as the chief of staff to Sessions. And what is his job as the chief of staff to Sessions? It is to look at all the information, all the things that are happening in purview of the DOJ, and he's the one who goes through and sorts through what things are directed to Sessions and what things may be directed to Rosenstein, whatever, because remember, Sessions is recused from the Russia thing. So anything that's Russia related, obviously Whitaker is pulling to the side. That goes to Rosenstein. This stuff goes to Sessions. So he's kind of an expediter, kind of expediting things for his boss, Jeff Sessions, which means that Whitaker is seeing everything. This is a way that they put him into a key position where they could put him in there where he would be able to actually be able to see everything, be on the DOJ side, but still connected deeply inside the White House to Trump's lawyer, McGahn, and Trump himself. So now they have, like Kelly said, eyes and ears right next to Sessions, in between Sessions and Rosenstein, basically sandwiched in between Sessions and Rosenstein. There they've placed Whitaker, and he's been there since September of 2017. Okay, so what happens now is you can look at this and you can say, okay, so obviously Trump decided back then that he needed to come up with a plan, and he needed to find someone who can execute the plan. And it looks like it was Whitaker. The Whitaker is the guy that Trump looked at and said, that's the guy I need. I need him in my White House, or let's put him at the DOJ. Let's get this guy in here. Trump has always wanted Whitaker as his Attorney General. Now, why did he just not make him Attorney General? Well, because he probably wouldn't have got through the confirmation process without all this stuff coming out. And he didn't want any hearings. Trump doesn't want any hearings. So by putting him in there as a temporary AG, even though Trump can certainly, after 210 days, Trump can either file for an extension for another 210, or he can just say, okay, I like the job that he's doing. I want Whitaker to be my AG. He certainly will have that option. But then he'll have to go through a confirmation process. By putting him in as a vacancy appointment, no confirmation hearings. None of this stuff has to come out. So this is what Trump has done. This is the plan that he and Whitaker have put together. So now I think we can be sure that Trump does have a plan, and that plan involves Whitaker, and that he and Whitaker are likely the two who brainstormed this on exactly how to go about doing it. Because Whitaker said all this stuff needs to happen. How do you do it when you've got a Senate that won't confirm anybody but a deep state operative? This is how Trump got around having to nominate a deep state operative who would do nothing more than go to the DOJ and continue to do what people from the deep state do in the DOJ. Remember, you're supposed to follow the line of secession according to an executive order that Obama signed 1 week before Trump was inaugurated, which meant that Noel Francesco, the Solicitor General, would have been the next man in line after Rosenstein. Trump didn't want that. He wanted Whitaker. This is how he got around that. He reversed that executive order by Obama. He put in Whitaker, and he put him in as a recess or a vacancy appointment so he didn't have to go through confirmation. And you can bet that for the past year, Whitaker has been putting together his plan, the plan that he and Trump likely have for how they're going to deal with the situation. And my guess is Whitaker has told him best to let Mueller end it and make sure I'm in charge of it, and I'll make sure it's ended correctly as best I can. And as soon as it's over, bam, I'll appoint a special prosecutor. We'll go after the perps. And I think that's a great plan, and I think that that's what this tells me, that this is exactly what has happened and is happening. And the key to it, though, one thing I would say, the key to this is you've got to get a hold of the narrative. You can't let the Democrats take over and immediately go and do what we know they're going to do, which will completely dominate the narrative. You need something right now to throw them off the game and get control of the narrative. And the thing to do before they take over, indict the rotten Reverend Clinton. Indict the rotten Reverend Clinton. That's what you do. Indict her. Throw him into a tizzy. Put him on defense. Finish up the Mueller probe. Appoint a special counsel and let it rip. I think that that's exactly what we're looking at. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.